Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is you're watching this. I hope that this particular presentation proves useful for you. For me, it has proved very useful as a quick and dirty way to do what smart brevity tells you: stay short, not shallow. Let's run through it before I get ahead of myself because I am really excited about sharing this with you. I believe it is a very useful tool for all writers. The goal, once again, is vigorous writing. And the premise behind this slide, the premise behind smart brevity, and the premise behind the paramedic method is that vigorous writing is concise. Not everything should be short. We don't avoid detail. We get all the details we need and more by making every word tell. If we do that, if we are concise, if we make every word tell, we will produce the vigorous writing. And vigorous writing is just another way to say the same thing: stay short, not shallow. The Smart Brevity book that came out this year, I'm very excited about how that one works. I was very excited to discover Strunk and White in the early 1980s, and I was very excited to discover the paramedic method in the early 1990s. The method for the madness of smart brevity, the method for the madness of vigorous prose, the method for the madness of staying short, not shallow, comes from this book, Revising Prose by Richard A. Lanham. This covers the third edition. I'm sure there are 5 or 6 or 7 editions by now. This is a cover of the edition that I have that I thumb through quite frequently. The paramedic method has 8 steps. For the purposes of this class, we are going to concentrate on 5. Because I am lazy, you'll see that I stole this from the web from yale.edu. So for one day at Mount Marty, you are going to get a Yale education. The 5 steps we are going to concentrate on are: circle the prepositions, circle the is forms. When I was teaching high school grammar, those were the forms of be. Lanham lists them as is, are, was, were, be being been and am. Ask where's the action, who's kicking who. Lanham says yes, it should be whom, but that sounds a little pretentious to him. Put the kicking action in a simple, not compound active verb, and start fast. No slow windups. Now, if you look down at number 7, read the passage aloud with emphasis and feeling. We're going to talk about reading the passages aloud. There will be essays where you will read the passages aloud in class. And ever so often, as you read aloud, you will see that you have to provide transitions. You'll have to do some things to perhaps create what Lanham would call a slow windup just to get the sentence to flow properly. But again, the idea of write like you talk. I talked about that early in the semester. Smart Brevity mentions it. Lanham implies it here. But I think the first 5 steps, the bold steps that we're looking at right now, are the key ones to concentrate on. Prepositions. This is those of you who have forgotten high school grammar classes. Those are short words that link the noun to the rest of the sentence. All right. And there's a list of them up here on the screen right now. I have given you a sample sentence: over the hills and through the woods to grandmother's house we go. And I have circled the prepositions. Uh, Through the woods and over the hills and to grandmother's house are prepositional phrases. And the thing I want to emphasize is that prepositional phrases can frequently be reduced down to one word, and prepositional phrases add words without adding meaning. And if the word doesn't add meaning to the sentence, perhaps there's a way to delete it or modify it so that it does add meaning. The second thing is circle the is forms. And again, the is forms are the forms of be, is, are, was, were, be, being, been, and am. Remember that they can be the main verb. For example, was happy, was is the main verb there. The girl was walking, was is a helping verb there. But either way, circle the is verbs. The goal is not recognition. The goal is to reduce preposition and to reduce linking verb usage. And if we do that frequently, we can limit the sentence. We can cut down the size. You see the black? We travel through woods and hills to visit grandmother. That works. To plus visit is a verb. It's called an infinitive. It's not a prepositional phrase. And the happy girl walked down the street. I think that says the same thing as the girl who was walking down the street was happy. Every word should tell. That's the goal. Vigorous writing, short but not shallow. Those are the goals we're working for. And I believe, again, going through steps 1 through 5 will get us there. Step 3, ask where's the action, who's kicking whom. When I taught high school, I used this sentence all the time. I see no reason to change. The student was defenestrated by the teacher. I've circled the is form was. I've circled the preposition. But when I look at this sentence, the action, who's kicking whom, the action is being done by the teacher. So if I'm going to say who's kicking whom, the teacher is performing the action. And so when I put the action in a simple, not compound verb, and Lanham calls verb forms with helping verb compound. So, example, if Collis is talking, the is here, and this is for him a compound verb phrase. Now, it doesn't matter that a lot of other people don't call it that. We're sticking with Lanham's terminology here. But if I change, the teacher was defenestrated by the student, the teacher defenestrated the student, I have cut at least 2 words off of there. My math is terrible. There's 5 instead of 4. But the fact of the matter is, once again, we've reduced it by a chunk, and we have the actor, the teacher, performing the action to the recipient, the student. We don't have the student doing the action. All right? So it's cleaner and clearer, not just shorter, but it is cleaner and clearer. And then step 5, start fast, no slow windups. Begin the sentences with the subject of the sentence, with the person or thing doing the action. All right, let's take a look. I have a slow windup. It's highlighted in green. I have is forms highlighted in blue. And I have prepositions highlighted in yellow. If we take a look at the sample, which I believe came from a student paper 3-4 years ago, another claim made is that millennials feel entitled to things like Apple Watches, a seat on the varsity bench, or A's on their report card. It's 25 words. Who's performing the action? It doesn't really say in the first one. So we're just going to say that many people. Another claim made, that's the action, but the sentence doesn't really give it an action. So many assert. Many assert what? That millennials feel entitled to Apple Watches. Two things, Apple Watches are things. A seat on the varsity bench, varsity status does the same thing. A's on their report card, good grades. Perhaps even we could cut down good grades to simply A's if we wanted to, and that would cut it down to uh, 13 words instead of 14. Get rid of the slow windups. Work to reduce the is verbs, the forms of be, especially in their helping verb, and work to reduce the prepositions. You'll notice that I still kept one. You may never eliminate them all. Sample 2. A person is always good at starting up a conversation with one or more people. It's 15 words. And again, I could have made my sample more precise, more concise yet. If we take a look, we have one is form, we have two prepositions. If we deal with the idea that it's some people, I probably could have been more specific and said extroverts. Without context, that's a little bit tough to know. So, extroverts easily start conversations. That's 4 words. Some people easily start conversations is 5 words. We had 15 in the start. Action verb gives us everything. Getting rid of the is form, getting rid of the preposition took out all of the words, and the meaning is not changed at all. Sample 3. Again, this came from a student paper. Sunday friends are a unique friendship. They are the type of friends that are only seen once a week, and that is in church. 24 words. I cut it in half. I kept one preposition in there, I believe. People usually see their Sunday friends, a small cohort, that's the replacement for the unique friendship, only in church. Okay? I think I've kept the same meaning. I have cut out one preposition and kept one. I have cut out all of the linking verbs. I've resorted to the action verb. Think about who's kicking whom. Think about what's the action. Think about how to place that in simple form and get rid of the prepositions, as many as you can. Reduce the linking verbs, especially as helping verbs, as often as you can. One more sample. There's a slow windup. The answer to this question is yes. Often humans are. And then again, we have 18 words. Referring to humans as humans, I think we could talk about people in general. So self interest drives most people's actions. All right. I think that gives me the same thing. I don't need the whole answer to this question is yes. Get to the point, stick to the point, work to reduce, work to eliminate the prepositions, the slow windups, the is verbs. We're never going to get rid of all of them. At times they're necessary. The goal is short, not shallow. The goal is vigorous writing. The goal is making every word tell. And the paramedic method is a way to reduce a lot of the extra words that prevent things from being vigorous, that prevent words from telling, that keep things long rather than short. Short, not shallow, vigorous writing. That's the goal. This is a step to get there. And I want to talk for a minute about a paramedic. Remember that the paramedic is not the doctor. The paramedic is the person who fixes it up on screen. It is, like I said, a quick and dirty method. One should still go through and revise, follow radar, follow cups, do that. The revision steps should take over half of the time as you do your writing. But this is a quick and dirty way to reach the goal. Hope everyone has a good day, and I hope to see you all in the next class.